give you the action with accuracy and authenticity.
Good afternoon. Welcome to City News here on Roots FM Jamaica. The news today is brought to you by our parent company, the Mustard Seed Communities, caring for the most vulnerable. Thanking our listeners on the 96.1 FM dial and also persons tuning in via our website at rootsfmjamaica.com. I'm Owen Brown.
And I'm Dudley Thompson.
Stand by for the news in detail. Welcome back. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced the reimposition of states of public emergency SOEs in several parishes across the island. The measures were announced at a media press conference at Jamaica House this morning.
This morning at midnight, His Excellency, the Governor General, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, declared 2 states of public emergency. One in the entire parishes of St. Anne, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, and St. Andrew. And the second, this is now in the entire parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, and Hanover. The government, after careful consideration and on the advice of the security chiefs, decided to notify the Governor General that it was necessary and indeed appropriate to declare states of public emergency in the areas so described above.
The Prime Minister says the crime level against Jamaicans remain high.
While we have had reasonable success in controlling the number of murders leading up to and during the Christmas season, the threat levels for ongoing gang conflicts, contract killings, organized robberies of businesses, hijacking of goods in transit, and various confidence scams that lead ultimately to the loss of life, spreading of fear, and depriving entire communities of their freedom to pursue their business and happiness. That threat level remains elevated and extensive in scale.
During Wednesday's press conference, Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson said the use of the states of public emergency is the quickest way to reduce the levels of crime.
The use of states of public emergency has once again proven to be the quickest and most effective way of rapidly reducing violent crime. During the first period of the SOEs declared in November, murders were reduced by as high as 64%, and increased by as much as 171% during the 7-day period when the emergency powers were removed. When the powers were reinstituted, the first 7-day period once again recorded declines as high as 55% in the divisions where the SOEs were declared and continued to trend downwards.
The Commissioner added that the country is now averaging 4 murders daily.
Of this year, the country has recorded a daily average of 4 murders. This peaked in September, where the daily average reached nearly 5 murders. September and October recorded increases as high as 8% when compared to 2021. Over the past 2 months, we have managed to reduce the daily murder average to 2.5 and have reduced the gap between last year and this year from 8% above in early October to 1.5% currently. This has been achieved through a suite of legislative, operational, and intelligence responses.
The Prime Minister maintained the government's defense of the use of SOEs, arguing that it is an important crime-fighting tool to save lives. More than 200 youngsters from several communities across St. Anne were feted at a Christmas treat hosted by the local police and Sandals Foundation at the St. Anne's Bay Police Headquarters car park in St. Anne's Bay. There were lots of gifts, ice cream, cakes, and abundance of hugs, as well as dancing and singing contests that had the children proudly showcasing their talent. Their parents had a good time also. To get the word out for the event, special invitations were sent to schools, a move that Arlene Williams greatly appreciated. She has 2 children enrolled at the Lime Hall Primary and Infant School. To make it even easier for children to participate, the police provided transportation where needed and possible. Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Allen was also on hand for the festivities. The family of Joseph Joe Mercer Marley is mourning the sudden death of the reggae artist who passed away on Tuesday. Joe Mercer, the first son of Stephen Marley and grandson of Bob and Rita Marley, was also the nephew of dancehall queen Carlene. Reports are that the musician, who was asthmatic, was found dead in a vehicle. He was living in the United States. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, has led the entertainment fraternity in mourning the death of the artist, whose untimely passing at the age of 31 years is a huge loss to the music as they look to the next generation. Minister Grange said in a release that she was deeply saddened by the news and shared that Joe Mercer was part of Jamaica's grand 60th celebration earlier this year. Members of the public are being advised that in order to facilitate preparation work needed for the return of fireworks on the waterfront on Saturday, December 31, a section of Ocean Boulevard in downtown Kingston will be closed. The police say the closure goes into effect at 4 p.m. today, when persons will not be able to turn left onto Ocean Boulevard from Northern Soul Place or Church Street. The area will be closed off until after the event. However, persons will have access to the Bank of Jamaica parking lot and the livery chute. Other road closures will come into effect at midday on Saturday, December 31. Port Royal Street at its intersection with Peters Lane and Ocean Boulevard will be closed. Meanwhile, several areas along Port Royal Street will be converted to two-way traffic to allow for easy access to designated parking areas. These are Port Royal Street intersection with Church Street, Port Royal Street Orange Street intersection, Port Royal Street Princess Street intersection, and the Port Royal Street West Street intersection. Tower Street between its intersection with King Street and Church Street will also be converted to two-way to allow for easy access to the designated parking area. Motorists are advised to plan their route carefully. All persons should obey the instructions as they work to limit congestion and ensure the safety of all persons. Investigations are now underway to determine the cause of a fire this morning at the property that houses Lynx Max Bakery on Slap Road in Kingston. No one was injured during the blaze, which started minutes after 9. Public Relations Officer at the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Emilia Ibanks, says the fire was confined to the upper floor of the two-story building, which was adjacent to a gas station.
11:18 a.m., we received a call at the Halfway Tree station that there was a fire at shop number 12, Premier Plaza on Constant Spring Road. We responded with 5 units. The units from York Park, Halfway Tree, Trenchtown, and Stony Hill attended to the blaze. As it is right now, we still have firefighters carrying out cooling down operation. We haven't gotten any reports of injuries or deaths. We have fire investigators on the scene now trying to ascertain the cause of the fire.
That was Emilia Ibang's public relations officer at the Jamaica Fire Brigade. And the Old Harbour Police in St. Catherine are yet to determine the motive for the Christmas Eve killing of a man on Terminal Road in Old Harbour Bay. Dead is 37-year-old Rupert Simpson, an unemployed man from the community. Residents reportedly heard explosions about 6 p.m. on Saturday and called the police. Simpson was found suffering from gunshot wounds near a Nissan Tida motor car with its vehicle still running and headlights on. Simpson was pronounced dead at the Spanish Town Hospital. 3 men caught aboard a vessel carrying some $300 million worth of cocaine was intercepted by the police recently. They are to face several charges, including illegal possession. The 3 are Jamaican fishermen, 2 from St. Anne and 1 from Trelawney. Detectives from the Constabulary's Narcotics Division have launched a major investigation following the seizure of the drugs off the coast of St. Thomas on Monday. The cocaine weighed approximately 500 kilograms. Information from the security forces is that the cocaine was discovered in what's called a go-fast boat intercepted in the waters off the coast of Morant Bay. The incident happened about 4 a.m. during a joint operation involving the Jamaica Defence Force Coast Guards and the Narcotics Police. And for this further afield, the former Haitian Prime Minister Laurent Lamothe said that they have initiated legal proceedings before the Federal Court of Canada, seeking to have a decision by the Canadian government to include his name on the list of persons subject to a special economic measure overturned and annulled. Lamothe, who served as Prime Minister from 2012 to 2014, is among a number of Haitian political elites that Canada alleges provide illicit financial and operational support to the armed gangs in the French-speaking Caribbean country in a bid to destabilize the country and remove Prime Minister Dr. Ariel Henry from office. In a legal proceeding, Lamothe argues that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Canada arbitrarily included his name on the sanctions list without providing any evidence or due process. And for our international roundup, we join Jeffrey Tavares.
Temperatures across the United States kill at least 55 people.
On the brutal weekend cold snap that swept over much of the country, killing at least 55 people. The worst of it is in western New York State. More snow blew through the Buffalo area overnight, and President Biden has declared a federal emergency there.
A Buffalo woman saves a disabled man's life.
Nature, bringing out the best of human nature. This is Buffalo resident Shakira Autry on Facebook Live.
I currently have an older 64-year-old white man in my house. I found him yesterday. I heard him screaming for help.
Passengers left stranded by Southwest Airlines.
Southwest has canceled more than 13,000 flights in the past week, including more than 2,500 just today.
Pope Francis says Pope Benedict is very ill.
Pope Francis has asked Roman Catholics to pray for his predecessor, the Pope Emeritus Benedict, who he said was very ill.
I am Jeffrey Tavares, Roots FM News.
We'll now go to Marcy Williams with the weather report.
Good afternoon. This is the weather report and I'm Marcy Williams. There's a weak trough across Jamaica. The trough is expected to remain across the island through to tomorrow. Thereafter, a weak high pressure ridge is expected to build across the region. This afternoon, we'll be having isolated showers across in the areas and sections of southern parishes, otherwise partly cloudy, and also expect windy conditions along the south coast. Tonight will remain fair. The maximum temperature in Kingston today is 32 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy in the morning across section of northeastern parishes and partly cloudy and windy, especially across sections of southern parishes and regionally. There's a weak ridge across the eastern Caribbean. And that was the weather report this summer for Sports Link with Dudley Thompson.
It is now time for Sports Link on Roots 6.1 FM.
Hello dear sports fans, I'm Dudley Thompson and welcome to Sports Link, and we start with news on football. Jamaica Premier League continues today with matches in round 7. Former champion Waterhouse will take on Dublin Holding at Droxall's complex starting just about 50 minutes from now. At 11th place, Waterhouse will be seeking their 3-match losing streak, while Dublin Holding have registered a 2-0 win and 2 wins and 2 defeats on a draw in their last 5 games. Meanwhile, 7th place Portman United will start favourites when they face Falkland, who sit at the foot of the 14th-team table at Westbow Park. In the day's other games, Tivoli Gardens will take on Humble Lion. Bobby United goes up against Chapeltown Maroons, and Molynes will play Mount Pleasant. Reigning champions Manchester City will play away to Leeds United in the Premier League this afternoon at 3 p.m. Leeds' final 4 games, about 2 wins and 2 defeats, 11 goals against and 11 for so far. City signed off with a surprise 2-1 win against Brentford, leaving them 5 points behind league leaders Arsenal going into the Christmas. However, Pep Guardiola's side returned to action with an impressive 3-2 Carabao Cup victory over Liverpool on Thursday, showing few signs of despite sending a league high 16 players into the just concluded World Cup in Qatar. On to news on the NBA, Luka Doncic scored a high 60-point triple-double in NBA history to help the Dallas Mavericks claim a 126-121 overtime win over New York Knicks last night. The 23-year-old Slovenians racked up 60 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists, posting double figures in 3 key attacking metrics. With the Mavericks down 115-113 in the final second, he deliberately missed a free throw, claimed a rebound, and scored a jumper to force overtime. Dominic, now only the 7th player to record a 50-point triple-double in NBA and become the youngest to achieve the feat, taking the record from all-time great Wilt Chamberlain. His performance powered to a superb comeback win for the hosts, who trailed at 110-101, well fewer than 45 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. Elsewhere, LeBron James impressive with 28 points as the Los Angeles Lakers ended a 4-game losing streak by beating the Orlando Magic 129-110. Now on to news on cricket. From West Indies batsman Ronald Holder says logistical challenges were the primary reason for CWI decision to host the West Indies Championship only in Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, and Trinidad and Tobago. The 2023 edition of the championships will begin on February 1, will played across 5 rounds of 4 days. The game will be featuring 6 regional franchise teams. The first 2 rounds of the championships will be played from February 1 to February 11 in Grenada and Antigua. The tournament will then have break and resume on March 15 and run until April 1 for the 3 rounds, which will played in Trinidad and Tobago. However, questions are being asked about the why Jamaica, Barbados, and Guyana were not awarded hosting privileges. Speaking on Mason and Guest Holder, the senior operation manager of Cricket West Indies says that the absence of regional airlines made it difficult to teams travel across the Caribbean. Holder rejected suggestion that cricket in the West Indies is now on a downward trend, resulting in only 5 rounds of matches. Now on to this cricket now, further afield, West Indies, that wicket-keeper Alex Curley scored a maiden century at Australia to close on the series sealing win over South Africa on a day 3 of the second test. The hosts racked up 575 for 8 in their first innings, replied to South Africa's 189 before declaring and switching the spotlight into to the Portuguese. The call was justified as South African wicketkeeper Dean Edgar was caught for a duck and his side fell to 15 for 1. Play was abandoned early in drizzle in the Melbourne Cricket Ground. And on that note, we come now to the end of Sports Link for today.
1 FM.
And for a recap of our top stories, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced the reimposition of states of public emergency SOEs in St. Anne, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, Hanover, St. James, Westmoreland, and Clarendon. The family of Joseph Joe Mercer Malley is mourning the sudden death of the reggae artist who passed away on Tuesday. Joe Mercer, the first son of Stephen Marley and the grandson of Bob and Rita Marley, was also the nephew of dancehall queen Carly. Members of the public are being advised that in order to facilitate preparatory work needed for the return of fireworks on the waterfront on Saturday, December 31, sections of Ocean Boulevard in downtown Kingston will be closed today. And investigations are underway to determine the cause of a fire this morning at a property that houses Lynn Max Bakery on Slab Road in Kingston. The news today was brought to you by our parent company, the Mustard Seed Communities, caring for the most vulnerable. Thanking our listeners on the 96.1 FM dial and also persons tuning in via our website at rootsfmjamaica.com. I'm Owen Brown.
I am Marcia Williams.
And I'm Dudley Thompson.
On behalf of the entire team, have a wonderful afternoon. Stand by for City Beat.
Thank you all for listening to the headline news at 12:30, brought to us by our sister station at Roots 6.1 FM. Join us at 1 o'clock for haphazard news and idiot thing. I am Jeffrey Tavares, thanking you for joining us.